All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and start this meeting. We'll call it starting at 10:04. Again, I appreciate everyone making the drive today out there. I know the roads aren't fantastic, but I appreciate you guys making the meeting for us. We'll start with roll call first. Again, the agenda and the packets have been delivered to you. When you do speak, just make sure the mic is on in front of you. So I'll start with the roll call first. John Wardle.
Here.
Spencer Martin.
Here.
Stephanie Hansen.
Here.
Terry Dennington.
Here.
And John Nesmith is absent at the moment, and then we currently have 2 vacancies on our roster. So again, appreciate the roll call. The agenda is as published. Again, we're going to introduce a new committee member, go over the 23 fiscal year results, talk about some dwelling unit projections and population projections, and I'll talk a little bit more about some level of service calculations I've done for you as well. With the agenda as posted, does anybody have anything else they would like to discuss or I can amend for you at this moment? Okay, I see none, so we'll adopt the agenda as is. Again, anytime if you want to bring something up, please, this committee is here for you as well. So we're going to start off with the introduction of our newest committee member. Terry is down at the end. Terry, welcome to the Impact Fee Committee. We appreciate you joining us and helping us drive the direction of the capital assets that we can fund with Impact Fee, so we appreciate you joining. If you wouldn't mind just giving a 1 minute, 30-second review of who you are, and then we'll introduce ourselves as well so you know who you're working with.
Well, let's see. I moved here in December of 2018, so I haven't been here a real long time, but I tried to get to know the area. Jenny knows me, and the fact that I go through the budget, and I go through the budgets of everything in the area, just because that really actually, when you do that, you really learn a lot about what's going on. So that's kind of the person I am, that my background. I love crunching numbers. I love looking at budgets and seeing how things are going, but it actually teaches me so much more than just the numbers. It teaches me much more about the entity and exactly what they do. So,
thank you. Well, I'll start with myself. I'm the administrator for the Impact Fee Committee. I think this is my 11th year as admin for this business, this particular role. I am the CFO for the city, and I'm here to assist you. I'm here to deliver the information that you need so that you can make the informed decisions for the committee. So that's my role. We'll just go down the wall here.
I'm Stephanie Hansen, and this is my first term serving on the Impact Committee. I'm an attorney, and I live here in Meridian.
Thank you.
I'm Spencer Martin. I've been a resident of Meridian for 29 years, served on this committee since 2011, and I've served with the Meridian Police Department as a volunteer since 2011.
Thank you.
I'm John Wardle. I work for Brighton. We do a lot of land development work, but I'm also a Meridian resident. So.
Appreciate it.
And Kurt Starman, I'm an attorney for the city, one of the deputy city attorneys, so happy to help out the committee as needed.
I'm Chris Bloom, City of Meridian's fire chief.
I'm Steve Sidaway. I'm the Meridian Parks and Recreation director.
Jamie Leslie, I'm a lieutenant at the police department.
Thank you. And appreciate you guys giving just quick intros. And then we got the team over here, which is the finance support. Again, Terry, you know everyone, I think, over here. So this is the finance team that assists with collecting the data for you as well. So again, the city employees are at your disposal for what requests you need so that we can get you the information that makes it easy for you to make a decision. So please let us know. So again, appreciate you joining the committee.
thank you.
So with that, we're going to get into the first agenda item, which is your fiscal year 2023 results. That would be the first sheet after the agenda. We are concluding our audit right now. We're on our last day of field work. We should be able to present the fiscal year financials in February to the citizens and the committee, to the council. I'm confident that these numbers aren't going to change between now and when we submit to council. So what we're going to do is, the way this the report is laid out, it's laid out by division. So impact fees can only collect revenues for the police department, the fire department, and the parks department. The first department I have listed here is the police department, and I have all the fiscal years that I've been tracking since we started this. The column I'm going to focus on is fiscal year 2023. All previous years are audited financial actuals. The fiscal 23, again, I'm pretty confident these numbers will stay as is. So with that, for fiscal year 23, the police department generated $833,000 in revenue. You will probably notice a trend here that the revenue numbers for all three divisions or departments are higher than last year, and that's because when we submitted our fiscal year 2022 impact fee study, those rates went up like 1 to 2 to 300%. So these rates, you will see consistently between the three departments, are much higher than last year. That's because we increased our fees by 1 to 300%. That's why you see that relative increase between the revenues from year to year. So again, the police department did generate $833,000. We had a little bit of operating expense of $370, mostly going to be for consulting and consulting fees for the impact fee study that went year over year. Police department has one major project going on right now, and that is our Northwest admin building. Again, I'll go ahead and update the ward precinct. Again, I talked to the lieutenant. He did inform me that they're going with Northwest Administration Building, so I will update that. That's my error. I'll change that, but that is our Northwest Administration Building. They spent actual $1.7 million. They've spent, they'll have a few more dollars in fiscal 24 as they close out that project. Lieutenant, the opening date is already passed, right? Yep.
That is correct. We're operational out there.
Awesome, thank you. So they're fully operational. So fiscal year 24 will have some more expenses associated doing probably the operational needs of finisher fixtures, things like that, closing up a few list items. So with that, the police department spent a total of $1,760,000 in expenses. Take that away from the revenue of $833,000, so they reduced their fund balance by $926,000, or creating a new ending balance of $1.1 million in their available fund balance for future projects. So that's kind of how the financials read. We start with revenues, then we go into operating, then we go into capital. Then we determine did they make money or lose money in that fiscal year, and then we take it or add it to the available beginning fund balance so we can show you the movement of their fund balance going forward. Again, we expected them to go into a negative status for this fiscal year because we knew that we had this large project on hand. So all impact fee accounts must save before they spend. So we'll always build up the balance and then we'll start pulling away from it. So that is exactly what this is doing. We built it up over the years and now we're withdrawing from our savings accounts. That gets us to the fire department next. Again, anytime, please interrupt. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we have the three directors here to answer any questions as well. Fire department ended the year at $2.7 million earned. Again, higher than last year because of the rate increases. We had a little bit of operating expenses that's associated to the impact fee study that we conducted and finished last year. With that, they had their major projects, which were the two stations, one in the north, one in the south. One station was fully funded by the impact fees. The other station was not. Again, we did not have enough money saved up to be able to fund this, so we decided that we can use a small proportionate share of the impact fees, and then the rest came from the general fund. So that's why you see a large discrepancy between the two station costs, is because when we approved this, we knew we did not have the funds available at the time, and we have to save before we spend. And the council at that moment says, it's all right, we have general fund dollars, we'll go ahead and move forward with these two projects at the same time, and the general fund will make up the difference that is not fundable by the impact fees. Station 7 and 8 are both open and operational. So those projects have been, the majority of it has been completed. We will have 2024 expenses, and that's going to be, just closing up some items, finishing up some things here and there. But for the most part, Station 7 and Station 8 have been acquired. And Chris, just to double check, both engines have been acquired as well?
Yes, Todd, that's correct. Both engines, both stations.
Thank you, appreciate that. So you can see for fiscal year 2023, the fire department ended its year at 5.2 million in capital expenditures. You had the operating, they ended up at 5.203 million. They started the fiscal year with 6.6 million in their savings account. We utilized 2.4 million, which created a new ending fund balance of 4.197 million that we can use for future projects over the next 5 to 6 years. So that was the fire department. And the parks department, again, looking at fiscal year 23, they generated $6.9 million. Their operating expenses spent $1,900. Again, that's kind of the closing expenses for the study. And they have one major project going on right now that's impact fee eligible on this particular report for fiscal 23, and that was Discovery Park. They spent $5.7 million in fiscal 23, which would then create an ending expense line for the Parks Department of 5.7. They generated 6.9 in revenue. So they actually increased their fund balance by 1.1 million. They started off with 13.3. They ended fiscal year 23 at 14.5. But as we know, the Parks Department has many more, the Discovery Park is still going. So we're going to be tapping into those fund balance savings so that the parks can continue. Steve, what phase are we currently on for Discovery?
We're just completing Discovery Park Phase 2.
Phase 2. All right, thank you. And how many phases do you have kind of penciled for that park?
For that park, there's a third phase, but it's not coming immediately on its heels. We're going to focus on other parks first. Our next big impact fee eligible project will be the community center.
Thank you. So that is the results for the Parks Department. And the very last section that I provide you, if we added up all the departments together, we generated $10 million in revenues, or $10.5 million in revenues. We expended $12.7 million in expenses. We started the fiscal year with $22 million in our savings account. We utilized 2.1, so we ended the fiscal year with $19.8 million. That will allow our three department directors to move forward with the projects that they have slated and use these funds accordingly. So these are their fiscal 2023 results. I did put fiscal year 2024 year to date. Again, those are just the first quarter of the fiscal year. Just as a FYI, we update this report quarterly, so that's just where we're sitting at this moment. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on the 2023 fiscal year results for the Impact Fee Committee. And if not, again, you have my email it to me. I'll go ahead and follow up with whatever you have, and then I'll copy everyone on any questions and share any information to everyone. All right, I see no questions at this moment, so we'll move on to this next item, which is I'm going to cover numbers 2 and 3 at the same time. This is dwelling units. Dwelling units are going to be the rooftops, the residential rooftops, both multifamily and single-family residential. That's what this report is primarily focused on. The first report I gave you is your historical and projections. As you can see, we had a pretty good run there for lots of growth, and we're on what we call the slowing down. But we're still very healthy, and we're growing very well, though, just not at the incredible numbers that we were doing in 18, 19, 20, and 21. Those numbers were pretty aggressive. Ironically, 2023 was the largest number of multifamilies that the council's ever approved. Out of all the years, you'll see that red line. That's the highest it's ever been. So we had our peak in multifamily approvals in 2023 by City Council. And I don't find that as a trend. As you can see, we believe that's a one-time blip. We believe it's going to get back down to normal, and there's no way we can keep that pace. Again, it's the highest we've ever done. So we will have a peak, we'll have a valley, but we show that the projections of our dwelling units still very healthy and strong, just not at any pinnacle point that we've ever been at the city of the Meridian. So that kind of gives you a projection of where we think our residential rooftops and our single-family rooftops and our multifamily rooftops will end up. And then the next one is a proportionate share graph. It just shows you that, hey, multifamily, the red is actually becoming a larger portion of our inventory within the city of Meridian as compared to the early days, which was mostly single-family rooftops. You can now see this spread is becoming more and more multifamily now and in the future. Again, not a gigantic growth of a multifamily in the next 20 years, but again, it is a larger portion than it was in previous years. So that's what that graph is just kind of showing you is, hey, it's the, multifamily is now a larger function of our industry or our city community. So those are the dwelling units. Again, we update this once a year. We have a growth committee that meets. We work with Compass. We work with State of Idaho. And we look at all the permits and plats because we are privy to them. So we know what's in the hopper, and we have our building department. We have technology there that kind of we put everything on a map, and we can count how many plats and residential permits and multifamily permits. We know what's coming down the line. So that is what we use to drive our data, and we actually supply that information to Compass. So they come to us to go, hey, what does the future look like? We have the data because we know what Brighton is polling. We know what Hubbell's polling. We know what X company is polling, so we can kind of count in theory what the residential rooftops and multifamily rooftops look like in the future. And that's how we build an outlook future, and we provide that to Compass, and then we, truth it with Compass data and with the state of Idaho data. So that's where this data comes from. The committee builds this projection. We meet, I think, every April. To figure out what we believe the dwelling units, and then the next topic, which is population. Population is a derivative of, is driven by the rooftops usually. So if we can figure out how many rooftops we have, then we can mathematically figure out how many people live in a building, and then we can mathematically calculate our population, which will be the next topic for you for our projections. But we just wanted to provide you an update where we believe we will be going and what we just finished. So we give you the fiscal year 23 results, financial, and we give you fiscal year 23 residential and multifamily permits pulled, which is the driver to our revenue. So every time there's a permit pulled, we get to calculate or collect impact fees on every permit pulled for residential and commercial. And then, so I wanted to connect the two. It says revenues here, these permits are what's driving these revenues accordingly.
So I have a question.
Yeah, Terry.
So is everything based on, because I know it talks about square footage pieces, excuse me, square footage pieces versus people who are dwelling and people who are coming into the city, all of those percents are done. Are they done from their actual drawings of the properties and, finding out how many square feet there are in the property? In each dwelling?
Each dwelling, excuse me, each dwelling, we use what's called an equivalent residential unit, which is governed, not controlled, but it's calculated by the federal government. It's 2.96% or 2.97 not employees, residents per dwelling right now. That is currently where it's at. So we continue to use the federal number of 2.96. So every time you see a rooftop being built, there's going to be about 2.96 humans living in that building, or residents, or population term you pick. So that is what we use. So if we know that there's a multifamily and we know that there's 37 doors or rooftops, we'll go 37 times 2.96, that equals population X. Again, some homes are bigger, some homes are smaller. Again, we understand that 2.96 is the federal average, is what we're currently using at this moment. And that's how we calculate population.
Perfect, thank you.
Todd, just to, you said it there, but just wanted to restate that the first one where it says historical and projections up through 2023, those are actual permits pulled.
Confirmed.
And then you're making, and that's for that full year. It's not a...
Fiscal year.
Yeah, fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
And then your projection beyond that is based on what you've done with the group every April to look at overall projections, and you kind of backed into
Confirmed.
permits. Okay.
Confirmed. Yep. And we present this to council usually every April, May, after we've finished it. We link this to the upcoming budget so they can see where we're going with the budget and the projections. Yep, thank you. So with that, the next item on the agenda is population. Population forecast, again, gives you historical. The 144 is January 2024. That is where we believe our population will be as of January 2024. You can see we've gone from 9,000 in 1990, and we believe 2050 will be about 200,000. We adjust this based on any census data that we do receive from the federal government. The Compass also does some census work for us, so if they give us a number, we adjust ours accordingly, and then continue our growth modeling based on that new base number. And we know, we have an idea of where we're going in the future. If they say that our actual number is a little off, so if they come in and say, hey, your actual is 143 something, we'll adjust it to 143. But we'll continue our projections based on what we believe the projections are. But right now, 144 is our projection. We don't have a Compass or a census number that supports January 2024. They've not released one yet. As soon as we get one, we'll update you guys accordingly. But that's where we believe the city of Meridian's at, is 144,813 as of January 2024, or will be at 21 or 2024. And you can see where we believe our future is at 200,000 people in 2050. So 25 years will be at 200,000. Spencer's like, no. It's crazy to think, isn't it? 200,000 people, this city. Yeah, that is. So we've seen a little bit of change around here, to say the least. Don't worry, Terry, I'm with you. I moved here in 2005, so we're part of the stats. So that was population. Again, happy to answer any questions. We'll update this in April when we get the